Let me quickly take you through the key takeaways from the G20 summit day one. Remember, the 55-nation African Union joined G20 group. It will now hopefully be known as G21 from next time onward. I'll request my team to play up, the key takeaways for our viewers to see what's going to happen next. Remember, Prime Minister Modi also announced unanimous adoption of the G20 New Delhi Leaders Declaration. That consensus was arrived at a very quick pace within hours of the G20 summit beginning here in the national capital. An India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor was also announced, linking India, Saudi Arabia, Gulf, Arab states and EU. There was a big, on the sidelines of the main summit, there was a big congregation of leaders from all of these countries talking about need for linking infrastructure, and that perhaps could happen in some or maybe a couple of decades from now. But also was announced a global biofuel alliance launched to boost the use of cleaner fuels and what it could mean perhaps for the future of sustainable living, sustainable use, and as an alternative to oil and crude oil perhaps. Remember, 19 countries signed up for that. The countries that did not sign up include, well, Russia, one of the oil producing countries of the G20 summit, or G20 members rather. Also, G20 members agreed on better, bigger and more effective multilateral development banks, need for reforms in the multilateral development banks. A consensus was also arrived at for crypto assets. Now, G20 nations agreed for a regulation that could perhaps be arrived at later in the month of October. The G20 also adopted framework for digital public infrastructure, recognizing the role of DPI in delivery of services. Those, of course, are the big key takeaways from the day one of the G20 summit. Day two is still ongoing. It will close at about 12:30